Joshua chapter 12. Now these are the kings of the land which the children of Israel smote, and possessed their land on the other side Jordan toward the rising of the sun, from the river Arnon unto Mount Hermon, and all the plain on the east. Sihon, king of the Amorites, who dwelt in Heshbon, and ruled from Aroer, which is upon the bank of the river Arnon, and from the middle of the river, and from half Gilead, even unto the river Jabbok, which is the border of the children of Ammon. And from the plain to the sea of Kinneroth on the east, and unto the sea of the plain, even the salt sea on the east, the way to Beth-Jeshemoth, and from the south under Ashdoth-Pisgah. And the coast of Og, king of Bashan, which was of the remnant of the giants, that dwelt at Ashtaroth, and at Edrei, and reigned in Mount Hermon, and in Salcah, and in all Bashan, under the border of the Geshurites, and the Maacathites, and half Gilead, the border of Sihon, king of Heshbon. Them did Moses, the servant of the Lord, and the children of Israel smite. And Moses, the servant of the Lord, gave it for a possession unto the Reubenites, and the Gadites, and the half-tribe of Manasseh. And these are the kings of the country which Joshua and the children of Israel smote on this side Jordan on the west, from Baal-Gad in the valley of Lebanon, even unto the Mount Halak, that goeth up to Seir, which Joshua gave unto the tribes of Israel for a possession according to their divisions. In the mountains, and in the valleys, and in the plains, and in the springs, and in the wilderness, and in the south country, the Hittites, the Amorites, and the Canaanites, the Perizzites, the Hivites, and the Jebusites. The king of Jericho, 1. The king of Ai, which is beside Bethel, 1. The king of Jerusalem, 1. The king of Hebron, 1. The king of Jarmuth, 1. The king of Lachish, 1. The king of Eglon, 1. The king of Gezer, 1. The king of Deber, 1. The king of Geder, 1. The king of Hormah, 1. The king of Arad, 1. The king of Libnah, 1. The king of Adullam, 1. The king of Makkedah, 1. The king of Bethel, 1. The king of Tappuah, 1. The king of Hepher, 1. The king of Aphek, 1. The king of Lasharon, 1. The king of Madon, 1. The king of Hazor, 1. The king of Shimron-Meron, 1. The king of Aksaph, 1. The king of Taanach, 1. The king of Megiddo, 1. The king of Kedesh, 1. The king of Jokneam of Carmel, 1. The king of Dor and the coast of Dor, 1. The king of the nations of Gilgal, 1. The king of Tirzah, 1. All the kings, 30.
Now, we had in chapter 12, and I'm not going into detail there, the roster of the kings of Canaan. And you go down the list, and very candidly, this to me is not exciting. And I can't find, actually, too much here of any spiritual import. Now, I know that's a very frank confession to make, but a chapter like this, the thing that it impresses upon me is the detail that the God of this universe has given to items like this. Very candidly, you would think that he'd constantly be dealing in grandiose terms with great issues. But you see, God gets right down to the nitty-gritty, right where you and I live. We sometimes hesitate to take to God in prayer so many of the details of our lives. We think, well, we ought not to talk to him about that. Well, friends, talk to him about it, because it's very important to take these, and he wants to hear them. Notice how a chapter like this, to me, is very uninteresting. But I want to say this to you. It's not uninteresting to the God of this universe. He made a record of all of these kings that surrendered to Joshua, and the way that they took that land. You see, God is interested in the details of your life. I had a liberal professor many years ago. He says, you take the Bible literally, and I said, yes. And he said, do you believe that God's got books up there that he's going to open someday and books to look at? You don't believe that, do you? You know, I think I shocked him. I said, I sure do. I think he's got books, friends. And here's a book. And here's a chapter all about these kings. I never heard of them. I know nothing about them. God does. He's recorded it. And I'm of the opinion that up there, you're in a book. Hope mine is not in the book of works. I want to be in the Lamb's book of life, by the way. That's the book to be in. But, my friend, whoever you are, your name's written down up there. And it may be in the book of the Lamb's book of life. You'll get in there by the new birth, by trusting Christ. And you don't get in there by your effort. There's a book of works, and He'll record your works, all the details of it, everything you've ever done. But I want to say this. When some of us get up there and find out that about all we did give was a cup of cold water that cost us nothing, it's going to be embarrassing indeed. It's all written down. And this chapter here, I'm not going to read it. I'm not going to read a verse in it. I'm just going to pass over it, friends. But it has a message, does it not, to us today? It's very meaningful to God and your life and my life. Now, my life may not be very meaningful to you, and your life may not be very meaningful to me. I share a great many personal experiences because that's the only way that I know to convey truth, because if it doesn't, work down here in the hopper of our lives, it's just no good. When it moves out yonder, it just becomes theory. And I use that. And a dear brother, a retired preacher, he's got plenty of time on his hands, and he wrote me about a 12-page letter. He'd had a similar experience. Now, they gave me the letter, and if you want to know the truth, I read it, and I thought, well, actually, to me, it was quite meaningless. Places I never heard of, people I never knew, experience that he'd had, and a church he served that I never heard of. But the interesting thing was, God knows about it, and that is written down. That's interesting to God. May I say to you, it adds a great deal to the dimension of this life that you and I are living today.